Good evening, everyone. And hi, my name is Christine Crowell, and welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about something really important to all those that are in business, that are writing contracts and doing contracts with, whether it's the government or private organizations. We need to be really mindful of conflict of interest. And in today's video, I'm going to be diving into what a conflict of interest means, just in case any one of you are not quite sure, for example, or maybe you're new at submitting contracts. And it is one of the most important things that we talk about in contracting with government organizations. So I'm going to be going into this, and the reason why I've chosen Elon Musk is because he's the richest man in the world, and he's done some amazing things with the contracts that he's actually achieved, and his intelligence and what the services that he is looking at providing. you know I can't really dispute it, because we don't know who else has put forward for these particular contracts. So Elon Musk, he could be facing, I'm not saying that he is facing, but he could be facing a massive conflict of interest. And in today's video, I'm going to go into why. And this is not to put anyone down. This is about me helping you, the care provider or the business owner, to understand the term of conflict of interest, for example. So I'm going to go into this video and welcome everyone. So first of all, I'm going to say that this is Elon Musk, for example, that was mentioned here. Now, there is news about him every single day, every day and night. But there could be a situation where he could be facing a conflict, or should I say, most business owners usually would be faced with this, that this is a massive conflict of interest. So I'm going to be diving into this just so that we are learning about what this actually means and what the implications are for you as a business owner, for example. Okay, so I'll start off with, in the news, we're hearing it every day. Elon Musk has found himself possibly in, possibly a concerning potential conflict of interest, which is tied to Starlink, for example, contract that he has. Elon Musk has worked really hard for the contracts and the businesses that he's got. I'm not saying that he hasn't, and please do not take this that I am having a go at him. I'm just here to give you the understanding of what a conflict of interest means for business owners that are looking to get into contracting, or those that are contracting. It may be that he's able to get away with something like this, whereas the average business owner isn't allowed to get away with this. But I want the business owner to be aware and not think that you can, because this is a very unusual situation here that we're dealing with. Okay, so this inquiry, it raises questions about the intersection of private enterprise and government dealings, particularly in the realm of national security and the telecommunications. So Starlink, it aims to provide global, and I'm going to talk to you about Elon Musk's contract, for example. It is a global, it does do global internet coverage, for example. And the implications of this could have really far-reaching on both Musk adventures and the future of government contracts that we are looking at applying for example. So this could change the way things are worded. It could change a lot of things, because now that this has happened, there'll be some sort of safety net that it doesn't happen again. So I'm going to go more into contracting, for example, as a business owner. Now, we're going to dive into the details, and also we're going to explore why it matters. Not that it matters for just Elon Musk, but for all of us. Understanding the conflicts of interest in government contracts is crucial. So, as it affects transparency, accountability, and also ultimately the trust that is placed in both private companies and public institutions. So stay tuned, and I'm going to unpack this complex issue, because this is complex. Never have I seen this before. And I've been doing healthcare businesses for 35 years. So this is totally one of a kind that I've come across this. And it may be that maybe people that are very, very wealthy can do this and are allowed to get away with it. But the average business owner isn't able to do this and get away with it, because they soon spot it straight away. You get called out. So let's look at first understanding the conflict of interest. What does it mean? So a conflict of interest, it occurs when a individual, they've got personal interest that interferes with their professional responsibilities, particularly in businesses like the government contracting. This can lead to undermining trust and integrity. It's government contracts, so there has to be transparency, and ethics are paramount when you're dealing with this type of government contracting, for example. So this really ensures that the decisions are made based on merit, which, I understand Elon Musk is very highly intelligent and he does know his stuff. I'm not arguing against that. I'm here to talk about the conflict of interest and what that could mean, for example. So in terms of, it's based on merit, which is wonderful and great, and it should be based on who is best for the job. But everyone should be given that chance to put forward their proposal in order for the buyer to make a decision about the supplier, like Elon Musk, and businesses like yourselves, for example, to make an informed decision based on the scoring criteria of whether that person is the best person for the best job at the best value, for example. Okay, so I'm going to dive a bit more into this. So, for instance, a contractor with close ties to a government official may receive preferential treatment. And this raises the questions about fairness, accountability, for example. So grab your tea, coffee, because we're going to go diving into the conflicts of interest. Understanding it. So as I go into this a bit more deeper, so like I said, it raises questions about fairness, accountability, and other examples include situations where a contractor stands to benefit financially from a decision that impacts public resources. By recognizing and addressing these conflicts, we can faster, we can be more ethical for the environment that protects the taxpayers' interests and promotes fair competition in government contracting. Now, in the UK, we have an act, which is the Contract Act 2015, which is to give you an even playing field, for example, that everybody is equal. And it's the same in America, that everybody is equal. I'm sure it's worldwide as well, for example. Depending on the criteria, the government is looking for a business, for example, to meet that criteria, whatever it is that they're looking for, and then everybody that meets that criteria applies. They get to apply for it, and then the government, who is the buyer, checks out all of the suppliers, because you're supplying the service, for example. Then they will choose what is best for the government, for example, and the people, for example. And also the value comes into it as well. And we all know that Elon Musk can create some amazing products with massive value. I'm not disputing that, but I'm explaining the understanding of a conflict of interest. Okay? So, like I said, Elon Musk, for example, and a contract. So say if it's Starlink project, it was initiated by SpaceX, for example, and this aims to provide high-speed internet access globally, which is great and wonderful, particularly in the underserved areas, which I think is absolutely good as well, with thousands of satellites planned for deployment. So the project has gained significant attention and investment. However, with Elon Musk's Starlink contract centers, there's some allegations of the possible conflict of interest. And there are critics that are arguing in the government contract, raising ethical concerns, particularly regarding the decision-making processes and the resource allocation. So the investigation seeks to, like they have to investigate all those applying for contracts as well. But they talk about Musk having a personal interest may have influenced the contract negotiation or outcomes. Now, we all know as business owners, for example, if we're applying for a contract, we cannot be related to the person that is the buyer, or knows of the person who is the buyer, have a special relationship. All of those things need to come in place, or have any unfair information or unfair knowledge of a particular contract that other people that have applied may not have done so. Okay, so the potential impact of this could be substantial, possibly leading to an increased scrutiny of that project. And also, it's going to also make changes to the contracts that we business owners apply for example. We don't know. It could. So I'm just discussing with you. Or even a reevaluation of the government's partnership with private companies. This situation, it really does underscore, for example, the importance of ethical practices in the public-private collaboration. So, what are the consequences of a conflict of interest? We all know as business owners, when we've applied for contracts, we know what those consequences could be. And it could be you could lose your contract, you could lose everything. Your business could be closed down if you're regulated with a certain governing body, which is to do with Health and Social Care Act, for example. So there's a lot of reasons why there would be a heavy consequence in this particular case. So when a conflict of interest is identified in the context of government contracts, for example, the repercussions, like I said, can be severe for the business involved. Legally, companies may face penalties, including fines or disqualification from future bidding processes. They could literally turn around and say, you're not allowed to apply for contracts anymore, you're banned, or we'll ban you for 5 years, or we'll ban you for 3 years, or we'll ban you for, the next round or whatever, for example. I want you to be aware of this, business owners, so that you are really taking this very, very seriously. This should be on top of your list when you're looking to submit a contract for your organization, for example. Okay, so additionally, existing contracts that you have may be jeopardized. They could turn around and snatch all of those contracts away from you, literally, and then they can close your business down. So this leads to potential losses and also damage to you as well. So this situation emphasizes the critical importance of compliance and ethical practices in your organization when it comes to contracting or even running your business. The compliance side has to be top notch. That has always been the first thing for me, is the care that is being delivered has to be top notch, for example. And the same when you're looking at contracting, you've put in this information that you are able to deliver this service and you provided this information. This is what they are expecting on time, every time, all the time. No ifs and buts. And yes, of course, they do accept that sometimes things can happen, but they also expect you to put that in your contract, that if this happens, then you will do this, that, and the other, for example. So again, by prioritizing your ethical standards, companies like yourselves not only protect themselves from legal repercussions, because you could be sued, for example, but also foster trust with government entities and the public as well, ultimately contributing to a healthier business environment. So how do you ensure that you prevent a conflict of interest? By effectively avoiding the conflict in the first place of interest in government contracting. Businesses should establish a clear policy and provide comprehensive training on ethics for all of your employees. This is a fundamental step that you must ensure that everyone understands the importance of this culture, and disclosure of transparency is crucial. So you may have an employee that could be related to one of the contracts that you need to apply for. What do you do in that situation? You have to come forward and say so, not hide it and go, they're not going to know. Yeah, they can and they will. So regular communication about ethical expectations can reinforce this culture. Furthermore, implementing audits. So when you do your audits, because you will be audited by an organization, which is usually a third party. And I suppose with the government agencies, they have their agencies that do audits, for example. Whether you're in the UK, whether you're in America, wherever you are around the world, they will be audits, for example, that you've got to adhere to. Okay, so furthermore, implementing audits, which is what you need to also do, so you're ahead of the game, and oversight mechanisms can serve as a proactive measure to identify and address any conflicts before they escalate. So by conducting routine reviews yourself, the business owner, of any contracts that you've got, what business practices you have, and the companies can also ensure that there is compliance and accountability. So these strategies not only protect the organization from legal repercussions, but also enhance its reputation and trustworthiness in the eyes of the government partners and the public. So you really should be auditing your own company ahead before you get audited anyway, to make sure that you are providing quality, but also that there is no conflict of interest. So what is it that you think that you are doing in your organization? Do you have audit processes in place to ensure that there is no conflict of interest with any or the business interests, for example, that's going to jeopardize you getting a contract with the government or a private organization? So I've talked about the critical topic of conflicts of interest in government contracting, for example, and in particular in relation to Elon Musk contracts that is winning from the government, understanding that these conflicts, as they can undermine the trust and lead to significant legal and financial consequences for businesses involved. So we discussed how transparency is key. Ethical practices and proactive measures like audits can help you prevent these issues from happening. And I encourage you to reflect on the importance of you maintaining integrity in business dealings. And if you found this content, this information valuable, please do subscribe and like the channel, and tell me in the comments, do you do audits for your organization to ensure that there's no conflict of interest? Do you have a conflict of interest policy in place to ensure that this does not happen? So we got to really look at what's happened here. It could have been that influence may have been used to secure a deal that benefits them personally rather than providing the best solution for the public. The reason why I say that is because people are saying this out there now, that could be a possibility. Like in the case of Elon Musk and the contract, the concern arises from the potential of the overlap. This is the issue here, the overlap, where Elon Musk's private interests and his ventures, but also he's got government dealings as well, which he's got access to this contract information and who's got what contracts and how much they've spent and what prices do they charge and how have they got these contracts and how are they performing, for example. That could be seen as an unfair advantage to winning a contract. So whether Elon Musk has close ties with the government agencies, especially for those involved in national security, maybe it could have influenced decisions made regarding a particular contract that is won, because he's doing private enterprise work, but also is doing government agency work as well, and it's a combination of the two. Now we all know as business owners, if we was working in a government, for example, and we applied for a contract and we know about that contract and we're getting information possibly about that contract, then that really puts us out of the loop. We can't apply for that contract because it would be seen as a conflict of interest. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of whereabouts Elon Musk is in the building, for example, and what he's seeing and looking at. I'm just going from what I am seeing from the press and the discussions, but also looking at seeing Elon Musk in the Oval Office speaking about government aspects of things. So it could be seen as a conflict because the two are connected. They're not separated, for example. So could this really impact not just the future of the contract that Elon Musk has got, but also how the government contracts with those that have been awarded moving forward in contracts, for example. So this conflict of interest, the subject matter, it's such high stakes. Contracts can have severe consequences. Business owners, you know this already, but I'm just saying this to you just to let you know that we still need to do things in the right way to meet these contract needs. We don't have anything special that we can add apart from what we can do and get the contract on its merit. But also what would be nice to know is what was the reason if you didn't get a contract? Well, what was the reason you didn't get it? You know, there's the scoring criteria. You should be able to see that, or you should at least be able to know what it was that you didn't do right in order to not get that contract, for example. So, like I said, a conflict of interest is a high stake, and it does have severe consequences, and it can lead to biased decision making, reducing the competition and the lack of accountability. If the decisions are made based on personal gain rather than the best interest of the public and the national security, for example, that's internet, for example, it can undermine the integrity of the entire contract process. So this affects the trust that citizens and other businesses place in both the private company sector and the government institution as well. So when you look at, for example, the question of whether a company's access to the government funding and contracts can be used to serve a political or personal goal, because this can become even more pressing. So ensuring that decisions are transparent and made in the best interest. And yes, I understand that they're looking at things and they're going into things really deeply, for example, but it's kind of like you've got your hand in two pieces of the pie, for example, and you want it all, for example, and others may not be getting a look in, for example. So we don't know what this is going to come out with. We don't know what these investigations could lead to, for example, in light of the private-public relationships in contracting, which is regulated. We don't know, because of this happening, we don't know what is going to, be added on to contract regulations, for example. Is this going to mean we've got another hoop to jump over to show evidence that we are complying and that there's no conflict of interest, and that we've proved that that there's no special relationship here, for example. So I really want you to think about you and your business, and thinking about this conflict of interest, and creating a policy, if you can do, for your organization. If not, let me know, and I can help you as well, for example. But you need to create a policy so that those that are dealing with or going to be working on a particular contract, that there's no connection there whatsoever, because that can come to bite you in the bum, a year down the line or 2 years down the line, for example. And then you could lose everything, for example, that you've worked so hard for. And this is the reason why I thought it would be such a good time for me to mention about Elon Musk, and to show this as a good example of what could be seen as a conflict of interest. And this is why I've been breaking this down with you, because we all know that the eyes are on Elon Musk, the eyes are on Trump, the eyes are on the world, for example. But we need to also be aware of our own business and what we need to do inside of our business. I always try and say this: mind your own business, because if you don't mind your own business, who is going to? And that is what I wanted to share that with you at the end. So thank you so much. And if you're tired of struggling, trying to get these contracts, for example, trying to understand these contracts, join us for our contracts bootcamp, which we hold monthly as well. You can book a free 15-minute appointment with myself and my team, and we will gladly go through things. We can even help discuss with you in terms of, your policies. What do you have in place for this to prevent this non-conflict of interest, for example? So let me know what you think about this, because I wanted to really share with you how you can really get involved in something that you didn't even realize that you got involved in. So like I said, and like I'm going to say again, with Elon Musk, he's got a dual role, and it's a very unique position as both a private entrepreneur and also a government contractor. And is also, having discussions, and the DOGE team have been set up as well. The recent contract of 400 million that was awarded, it's highlighting, people are questioning things and things like that. So just think about not creating tension. Okay, you want to be able to apply for a contract without it being contentious. And I think that this is what the problem is happening here. And I'm just guessing my view, but I'm also looking at what other people are saying as well. And the thought of the consequences of a conflict of interest, which is what no business wants. You want to be able to grow your business. You don't want to be involved in any consequences of a conflict of interest. So what lessons have you learned today from this, and it's made you think? I'd love to hear your comments of what you think. And make sure that you've got a robust compliance framework in place so that you have the essential tools to navigate any potential conflict effectively and quickly. You want to nip that in the bud so that you can stay proactive and adopt the right policies that promote ethical standards. That is the key. Now, when you think about the transparency and ethical standards, then you may need to do a training. After learning about this today and learning about Elon Musk, for example, it's really made me really think that there's a training program here for this that you as a business owner need to implement in your own business so that you never come across something that could jeopardize what you've worked so hard for over all of these years. So I want to encourage you to make sure that you cultivate a culture where transparency is paramount. I'm sharing these examples with you so that you as a company will thrive and you'll implement these trainings into your organization. And with a clear structure, you'll have a clear roadmap to your organization. So I want you to be able to really take this on board, and I hope that you've managed to think about what I've said today, and I hope that you've found this helpful in your organization, and I really do appreciate your comments. So let me just have a look here. Wow. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat here. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that information. That is very informative. And that's quite a lot of information there that's in the chat. So, wow. Okay. See, it's good to hear people's views. It really is. So thank you. See, I didn't know all of this that you've just put into the chat. Thank you. Wow. Okay. So you've mentioned about it could impact financial policy decisions. Yeah. So I believe this happening, I think that business owners really need to also look at this and use this as possible case studies as well. Thank you so much for giving me that information, because I didn't even realize that at all. So I appreciate you letting me know, Alex. I appreciate what you've just said, and it is a lot of information. I really do appreciate that. So thank you so much. It's going to give me some food for thought, and I'll be going through what you've put here one by one, so I can go through that properly, and then I can even go through wow, okay, so that's quite a big amount of money there as well. So thank you so much for giving me that information. This is why I say to you, I'm here to just talk about businesses that are looking into contracting, and I want everyone to be as informed as possible so that we are ethical when we're doing contracts for government organizations as well as private organizations. So yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you for everyone that is here tonight. I mean, I could read this out, but I'm not sure in terms of, I need to look at this before I even talk about it. I'd like to do a video on what you've just put here, because I am interested in what you've just put in the chat here, but I also need to look at what has just been said. So thank you so much for your information. I really have appreciated your giving me this information, because at the end of the day, we all need to be informed as much as possible, and business owners need to be aware as well. All right, so thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you being here, and do subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing another talk about this, especially now I've got all of this information. So I'd like to go into it in a bit more depth. So I'll probably end up covering this tomorrow, so that I've got this information, because I've just seen it, and it's like, wow, this is mind-blowing. So thank you for providing this information, Alex. I do appreciate it. So thank you, everyone, for being here today, and I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow. I am going live here tomorrow again. I go live every day, and I will be here 7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. New York time, Atlanta time, for example, just to give you an idea of the times that I do come on here. I usually do about 1 hour, and now that I've got quite some information here that's been given to me, I just want to do some search on that, because I also, many years ago, did work for I have worked for law firms as well, and I'm intrigued about doing research. So thank you so much, and I will speak with you all tomorrow. Take care. Thank you. Bye.